With more on this is Alex Little, a defense attorney and former assistant federal prosecutor. Alex, good to see you.
Good afternoon.
There's the debate about whether former officials like John Brennan need a security clearance or whether it's more a professional courtesy. Take a listen to Republican Senator Tim Scott, and then I'll ask your reaction.
We're fighting over whether or not he has it or whether we're taking it. The question is, how is America safer because he has it? If the answer is there really isn't a good answer for that question, then why does he have it? And there's not a good answer for that question, and taking it away seems plausible and logical.
Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would hate to be a Republican having to defend the president on this. And Tim Scott is smarter than that. There are plenty of reasons. I worked in the intelligence community for a while before I was at the Department of Justice. When you have someone with a career who has relationships around the world like John Brennan, he brings an incredible amount of insight. And so if you're still at the CIA, you're still at the National Security Council, and you want to ask somebody like John Brennan his thoughts on what's going on, he needs to know what's going on. He needs to have that clearance so you can have a discussion with him, because people like him make our country, I think, much safer because of their knowledge, because of their relationships.
What about those who make the argument the president's using the clearance as a weapon or trying to silence John Brennan's criticism? What about that?
Well, he's admitted to that. I mean, that's the admission to the Wall Street Journal. There's been reports about that in the Washington Post as well. It's truly despicable. The president has the power to use classified clearance processes to revoke and to grant. But when he does it this way, it really undermines who we are as a country, where national security is the most important thing. President Trump could legally strip all Democrats of security clearances. It would also be an incredibly despicable act. And that's the path that he's walking down.
Then there's the president signaling he's planning to take away the security clearance of Bruce Ohr. Ohr's wife, Nellie, was a contractor for Fusion GPS, which worked on that dossier about the president during the campaign. Where are you on Ohr's clearance?
So one thing he can't do is he can't just fire Bruce Ohr. Bruce Ohr is a civil servant. He has protections. He has to be fired for good cause. And so the president appears to be trying to find ways to inflict pain on those who he just disagrees with. This is what happens when you have, I think, an individual who appears to be reacting and not acting very presidential. There's no president, Democrat or Republican, who has ever reacted this way towards civil servants who are doing their job for their career to protect our country and to uphold the system of justice we have. And so I think anybody on either side of the aisle who looks at this and can't be a little bit disgusted, I think needs to reassess their priorities.
Virginia Democrat Senator Mark Warner says he's planning to introduce an amendment next week aimed at blocking the president from revoking security clearances. Warren sees the clearance matter as punishing and intimidating the president's critics. Is that more of a protest from the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee?
No, I think Mark Warner is going to put his Republican colleagues to the test. Is Congress a separate and equal power of government that will put checks on this president, or are they just going to be the way that they've acted so far, which is to let President Trump pretty much do what he wants? We've seen it with tariffs. We've seen real problems with the trade war. Republicans are just starting to get upset about that, and we'll see if they'll actually take the challenge and put some real restraints on the power of President Trump.
All right, Alex Little, I'm going to ask you to stay there for a moment to get your reaction on the latest developments in the Paul Manafort trial. Ebony? Alex Little, defense attorney and former assistant federal prosecutor. So is this jury deliberation stretching into a new week a good sign for Paul Manafort and his attorneys?
As long as the jury stays out and doesn't return a verdict, that's a good thing for Paul Manafort. When you get in these long trials, you want the jury to take your time. You hope that inside that jury room there's some dissension between the jurors about your verdict. It's not unusual, I think, to go this long given the length of the trial, but it certainly does help the defendant.
I want to play for you some comments President Trump made and get your reaction. Take a listen to this.
They should be looking at Bruce Ohr and his wife Nellie for dealing with, by the way, indirectly Russians. They should be looking at Steele. They should be looking at all these FBI guys who got fired and demoted. It's a really weird, it's not us. Mr. Mueller has a lot of conflicts also, directly yourself, so you know that. Mr. Mueller is highly conflicted. If he was doing an honest report, he'd write it on the other side.
With Mueller prosecutors handling the Manafort case, would you be concerned if jurors heard those comments and read the president's tweets this weekend while they're deliberating?
Oh, I think if the Mueller team would certainly be concerned about that. And again, I think we have to look at the broader picture here. Never in American history has a U.S. president really defamed a prosecutor in the midst of a really high-profile trial like this. We have to, I think, stop treating President Trump as if he is the president when he makes these statements, and remember that he's the target, really, in many ways, of this investigation. And so he's not acting presidential. He's not acting like the president. He's acting like somebody who's under scrutiny. And so if the jury hears that, it's going to be a problem. I think there were some issues earlier with this case where the jury jurors may have been exposed to external information. They took some time talking about that. But this judge, I think, would have a handle on that. He's going to ask them Monday if they ever talked to anyone about this case or heard anything about this case. We have processes for that in our court system, and I hope that they'll follow those.
You also worked on the prosecution side of things. How nervous do you think those prosecutors are right about now?
Oh, it's the most nerve-wracking time. You've worked on a case for months, you've built it, you've presented it to the jury, and now it's out of your hands. You have to wait for those 12 people to come back. They're not going to get a lot of sleep this weekend. They're going to second-guess everything they did until that verdict comes back.
What if they fail to get a conviction here? Does that increase calls for the special counsel to wrap things up?
You know, it's odd because this case really was unusual in how normal it was. This was a basic bank fraud and tax fraud case that could have been brought in any courtroom in the country in federal court. And so in some ways, it probably wouldn't have much effect. The next trial with Paul Manafort is much more critical because it does involve his contacts with Russians and much more closely aligned to the campaign. But I think both sides will find things to complain about or to, crow about when the verdict's read.
Are you surprised Judge Ellis revealed that he has received death threats and is being protected by federal marshals?
No, I think that in high-profile trials, that certainly has happened before, and I think the reason he told folks is because he's explaining why he wants to shield these jurors. Judges really try to protect juries as best they can. I think Judge Ellis is going to do that, and he needed to provide some context as to why he thought it was necessary.
What about George Papadopoulos with the recommendation that he get up to 6 months of jail time?
Well, what's most interesting about that recommendation, I think, was what the prosecutor said about the things that Papadopoulos had done to really lie to the prosecutors and to try to thwart their investigation, which has been an ongoing theme in this investigation to date. So if I'm a federal judge, I don't like the fact that that's the way Papadopoulos treated investigators, and I think he's got a real chance of spending some time in jail.
All right, Alex Little, thanks a lot.